the community and the importance of that for us here today. But while we talk and while the program continues, please feel free to enjoy your meal. As most of you have probably noticed, I am not Ann O'Doherty. Ann and I were twins when we were in the convention planning committee for the Pittsburgh convention, and now apparently we're interchangeable. Unfortunately, Ann took ill and had to go home, so it's my real honor and pleasure to be here with you today and channel Ann as we go through this program. And we certainly wish her a speedy recovery. Our resident paparazzi have requested that I make sure that all award presenters and recipients enter the stage through my right, be presentable for some cameos, and then exit on my left, and there will be a place there for a more formal photograph with your presenter and recipient. I also wanted to take the opportunity to share my thanks with some people. All the award presenters who will diligently stick to their allotted time. Amy Reynolds for keeping us focused, and by us I really mean me, and organized, and all the people who helped prepare and serve our meal today. So without any further ado, let's get this party started. Our first recognition is for the UCEA Excellence in Educational Leadership Award in recognition of practicing administrators, who have made significant contributions to the improvement of administrator preparation. Plenum representatives at host institutions and each university are responsible for making the award presentation at their home institutions, usually in the summer. But we're actually really pleased to know that some of them are here today. So could those recipients of the Excellence in Educational Leadership Award please stand and be recognized? Stand. And could their host institutions stand and be recognized as well? Yes, stand. Many thanks to the award recipients for their service to the field and to their communities. Our next awards will be given out by Michelle Young for distinguished service on the occasion to honor their outstanding service to the UCEA organization and to the field. So I will now exit to the left.
It worked. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my honor to be able to present these awards. UCEA is a very fortunate organization. UCEA members have a very long history of distinguished service, and I continue to be very impressed by the level of commitment among our peers. They do a lot for very little, and we benefit greatly. This year we're identifying and honoring 4 very special individuals, and I'm not sure that all of them have been able to make it in yet. I think we've had some flight delays, but if you are here, I'm going to call out your names, and then if you could come forward, we'll present each of the awards to you together as a group. The individuals are Linda Skirla, Cristobal Rodriguez, Bruce Barnett, and Richard Fossey. And I know that Richard Fossey is not here yet, so if you could come forward. So Richard's not with us, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about why Richard is receiving this award. Richard served as the editor of the Journal of Cases in Education Leadership. He unfortunately had to cut his term as editor short due to a shift in his professional career. However, when we sought a new editorial home, and William Black from University of South Florida is going to be our new JSL editor, Richard and his team stepped up and continued to work throughout the transition time, and that was really important for us. They kept the journal strong and in really good condition, and that takes a lot, particularly when you have already left your host institution and you've moved on to a completely different place. So we look forward to working with Bill, and we thank Richard very much. Now, that story is not altogether too different from our second recipient today, Linda Skurla, who, as many of you know, has just finished her second term as the editor of EAQ. And Linda, yes, exactly. Thank you. And as any of you who know, who have ever edited a journal, edited a special issue, think about serving as a reviewer and multiplying that by 1,000 maybe. This is really fulfilling, educative work, but it's also incredibly demanding, and it's a lot of responsibility. And Linda and her team at Texas A&M University just did a marvelous job with the journal over the last few years. And again, Linda transitioned out of the role as she was also transitioning to a new institution. Never let any of her responsibilities slip, and we are sincerely thankful to her. Our third recipient of the Distinguished Service Award, you don't get a reward, is presented to Cristobal Rodriguez, who has just completed his term as the Associate Director for the Jackson Scholars Program. And under Cristobal's leadership, this program grew tremendously. And in fact, I was counting up the number of Jackson Scholars who came through the program under Cristobal, and it was about 300 different graduate students of color. And it's a phenomenal program. And it's been really wonderful working with Cristobal. And again, these are positions that are volunteer and take a significant amount of time, and we certainly appreciate his contribution. Excuse me. And last but certainly not least is Professor Bruce Barnett, who is also going to be receiving another award later on. Just a little spoiler alert. Bruce he served as our inaugural Associate Director for International Affairs, and he took the ideas that we handed over to him and expanded them. He developed memorandums of understanding with a variety of different international organizations, has really built a significant international program area for UCEA, and we really appreciate his efforts in this regard. So all of you, in addition to all of the things that you've been doing for UCEA over the years, serving as mentors, serving on editorial boards, serving as reviewers, as conference proposal reviewers, as convention planners, as Jackson Scholar mentors. This is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of what they've actually contributed to UCEA in our professional field. So I just want to thank them all once again for their contributions. Because I would have gone.
This is a good flow. I like it. The next award is the William Davis Award. The William J. Davis Award is given annually to the author or authors of the most outstanding article published in the EAQ during the preceding volume year. The article selection is made by a 3-member panel chosen from the EAQ editorial board who have not published in the volume being reviewed. The Davis Award was established in 1979 with contributions in honor of the late William J. Davis, former Associate Director of UCEA and Assistant Professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Casey Cobb from the University of Connecticut will come and present the award for William J. Davis.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to announce this award, which, as Monica stated, was established in 1979 and named after an exceptional young scholar, William J. Davis. The award recognizes the most outstanding article in EAQ in a given volume year. Linda Skurler was able to present this award already last spring at AERA to Division A to help solidify our relationship with that division and to further promote the good work of UCA scholars. This year, we have the pleasure of awarding co-winners. So there are two papers. The first paper is entitled The Effects of Charter School Competition on School District Resource Allocation, authored by David Arson of Michigan State University and Youngmei Ni from the University of Utah. The second paper, titled Curriculum Leadership in a Conservative Era, is authored by Rose Yilamaki from the University of Arizona. Please welcome me in congratulating these authors on their fantastic work for these two papers. Please join me in congratulating the two authors. Is that it, everybody? All right, now we go get our picture. Now we go to the picture.
That's what you get, Casey, for coming up the wrong set of stairs. The next award will be the Edward M. Bridges Award. The Edward M. Bridges Award is given by UCEA annually for original, outstanding work in the area of research and/or development that contributes to our knowledge and understanding of how best to prepare and support future generations of educational leaders. Contributions can be in any of several forms, including design and evaluation of innovative approaches to leadership preparation, development of a research-based tool for leadership education, or a conceptual and empirical research paper that illuminates important issues or a long-term, high-impact problem of research. The Edward M. Bridges Award will be presented by Jill Sparendio from Lehigh University.
I'd just like to express the gratitude of our Lehigh's Educational Leadership Program and the College of Education, in which Perry has been an outstanding member for many years now, for giving Perry this award. He's certainly an exceptional person and an outstanding colleague. He uses his expert knowledge of special education law at both the academic level and to help people in the local community. He's a prolific writer. We celebrated some years ago his article number 1,000, I think, and he's still writing. And he's a legend among students, in particular for his very dry wit and outstanding stories around fishing trips that he goes on. Perry, unfortunately, couldn't be with us today, and he has asked me to read out the following note of thanks to you. Perry writes, "First, my sincere appreciation to UCA, who under Michelle Young's leadership has maintained and enhanced the position as a valued and vital organization on the national educational landscape. This achievement is particularly significant at a time when many other educational organizations are unfortunately on the decline despite the need for creative and effective leadership. Secondly, I'd like to thank my colleagues at Lehigh, George White, Floyd Beecham, Craig Holben, Louise Donahue, and Jill Sparendio for the continuing support and stimulation. Third, I've been fortunate in having the opportunity to work with consummate UCEA colleagues at other institutions, including such longtime leaders as Martha McCarthy, Richard Fossey, and Fen English, and such rising stars as Lisa Kensler and Zorka Karanska. Fourth, but in opposite order of importance, I think my wife Carol, daughter Jessica, son Seth, and our grandchildren for their patience with Grandpa's long and late hours reading and writing. Finally, giving meaning to my 40 years in the field, it's a distinct pleasure to receive an award named for Edwin M. Bridges, whose work extended to issues with a significant legal dimension, such as teacher evaluation. I wish you all the fortunate career experiences in our fulfilling field of educational leadership. Thank you.
The next award presented is the UCEA Master Professor Award. The Master Professor Award is given to an individual faculty member whose record is so distinguished that UCEA must recognize this individual in a significant and timely manner. Dr. Cindy Reed from Auburn University, and can I say past president? And UCEA past president will present the award.
Thank you, Monica, and yes, you may say past president, so. Oh, no, you got it. I'm so pleased to be here today to be able to present this important award to somebody who I deeply admire. Alan Shoho and George Peterson nominated Paula for this award, but unfortunately they could not be here today, and they asked me if I would step in, and I said, I can't wait, thank you. Paula is our award winner this time for the Master Professors Award, and as you know, they must meet many criteria, such as having a sustained record as outstanding teachers. So let me simply say she's been here with us for the past 2 days working with our graduate students in the summit, right? And having a record of promoting educational innovation in the classroom and beyond. Further, master professors extend educational opportunities to an ever-widening group of students in educational leadership and administration. So Paul described Paula's teaching this way. George P. Okay. When Dr. Short served as a faculty member and department chair, her teaching was exemplary. She won the Education High Flyer Teaching Award 3 times when she was at the University of Missouri at Columbia. 3. One wasn't good enough. 3. Alan noted that she's garnered over $2.4 million in externally funded research, and she's published over 65 peer-reviewed articles, 2 book monographs, 8 books, and 5 book chapters, and most of her scholarship, and her scholarship continues today, has been in our top journals. Paula's chaired 23 doctoral dissertations to completion, and 9 of those people pursued academic careers in higher education. In fact, James Crawford is over here. He is one of her mentees. The remaining 14 are currently principals, central office administrators, or superintendents. Needless to say, she served as a mentor to, I can't even begin to tell you how many people over her years, and she currently was recently appointed, not so recent anymore though, is it, as the provost and senior vice chancellor for academic affairs at the University of Houston. This follows her decade-long tenure as the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Tennessee Board of Regents, where she had the vision and implemented just phenomenal changes that really are improving the quality of education throughout the state. She continues to be a leader of leaders and actively supports diversity in faculty, students, staff, programs, and curriculum in the field of educational leadership within the United States and internationally. In addition, she continues to write on issues pertaining to the development of junior faculty, and in fact was co-authoring a piece with Michelle Young called the Contributions of Jack Culbertson Award Winners from 1983 to 2005. I believe I was interviewed for that one. I was. Supporting her career development of educational leadership faculty, the other part of the article. So I want to end by saying something that James Crawford noted in his letter of support. He said, "My relationship with Dr. Short did not end when I defended my dissertation and earned my PhD. It really only just begun. Dr. Short has not only continued to advise me, but she's helped me advise my own doctoral students. Prior to meeting Dr. Short, many former students and colleagues, they did not envision themselves as scholars or university administrators, but she nurtured and encouraged all of us to reach for the stars." Last thing I'll say today, and Gerardo was also one of her people that she hired him and continued to nurture him. But to wrap up, Bruce Cooper from Fordham University describes you this way: "Her name may be short, but her accomplishments are truly large for someone to do in one career, and she continues to lead and contribute to our field and to our work." So please join me in congratulating Dr. Paula Short for this amazing award.
Well, thank you, Sandy. I really appreciate those kind words. They mean an awful lot to me. I am extraordinarily grateful to UCEA for this award. It is an incredible honor, one that I am extraordinarily proud of and grateful for. I want to thank my nominators, Alan Shoho and George, who could not be here today, George Peterson, and also those of you that wrote letters of support and also were supportive in other ways of my nomination. There's one thing I want to say about this group. That's the best covert operation I think I've ever seen, because I didn't know anything about this nomination, and how they kept it quiet, I don't know. I think the CIA could take some lessons from them on covert operations. I've always said that the highest honor that anyone can receive is recognition from your peers, and the Master Teacher Award certainly falls into that category. But I'm in good company. If you look at the past recipients of this award, they are extraordinary scholars, teachers, mentors, and good colleagues. So I am in good company with this award. When I was approached by Michelle indicating that I had been chosen for the Master Professor Award, I did a little bit of reflection on my career, and scary as it seems, in fall of 2014, I will enter my 30th year in the Academy. I don't know where the time has gone. But the thing that's important about that is that 25 years of those 30 have been spent in association with UCEA. It began when I was on the faculty at Auburn University, when a group of us worked very hard to get Auburn University reinstated in UCEA, and I began as an assistant professor there, serving as Auburn's PSR. I have had the opportunity to serve as faculty fellow in UCEA when I was faculty at Penn State. When I moved to Missouri-Columbia as department head, we hosted UCEA at Missouri-Columbia. And then I've also been very, very fortunate to serve as UCEA president. So I think my point is that engagement in work in UCEA has really given me a launch pad for my career. It's helped frame my career, and it's given it purpose. Along the way, I've had the honor to mentor extraordinary students who, as Cindy said, have gone on to academe or to school leadership roles or university administration. And as I've advanced in university administration, I've used my positions to put a spotlight on education and to pressure universities to accept their role as key players in the improvement of schools, the improvement of and teacher preparation so that we do ensure that all students are successful. So thank you again. I'm honored to receive this award and very grateful to UCEA, to Michelle, and to Cindy. Thank you very much.
The next award to be presented is the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award. The J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award honors educational leadership faculty who have made a substantive contribution to the field by mentoring the next generation of students into roles as university research professors, while also recognizing the important roles mentors play in supporting and advising junior faculty. This award is named after J.D. Scribner, whose prolific career spans over 4 decades and who has mentored a host of doctoral students into the profession, while advising and supporting countless junior professors throughout the same time. Of particular note is J.D. Scribner's unique ability to reach across racial, class, and gender differences in his mentoring, nurtureship, scholars from underrepresented backgrounds into the profession largely homogeneous in composition. The UCEA J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award will be presented by Emily Crawford, University of Missouri.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here today to help present the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award to Ed Fuller. I first met Ed while at the tail end of my doctoral studies at Penn State University, and his mentoring of me has continued into my first couple of years as a tenure-track assistant professor at the University of Missouri. Just about 10 minutes ago, Ed was still offering advice in terms of how to block my time for writing and how to manage my teaching and research responsibilities, and it always comes with a great sense of humor, so that advice is always welcome. I recall meeting Ed during his first year at Penn State and noticing immediately how he sought to get to really know students. Right away, Ed demonstrated care for student professional development. He sat with students at luncheons to talk about their research interests, held individual and group meetings, and offered opportunities to work on research projects with them. He encouraged students to present at prestigious conferences like UCEA, and he worked tirelessly with those students and myself to develop strong conference proposals. And in 2012, thanks to Ed's concerted efforts, Penn State had the largest representation of student presenters, and we're fortunate to have at least a table full of Penn Staters here today representing Team Fuller. That Ed would receive this award is very fitting. He always makes time to talk with students, offers valuable feedback and ideas to help push student thinking up a notch. He's a great listener, and despite how busy he is, he still finds time to maintain that sense of humor. I'd now like to share a few comments from some of the Penn State graduate students who have been fortunate enough to be mentored by Ed. So from one particular student, she said, Dr. Fuller models a practice which all faculty ought to consider. He really listens to graduate students. He has an open door policy for all graduate students and regularly organizes meetings to brainstorm ideas for research questions which can be answered using the data which he has made available to us. These weekly meetings, affectionately referred to as meetings of Team Fuller, allow graduate students across our department to connect as well as provide valuable guidance from a faculty member at the formative stages of coming to a research question. Another student said, Dr. Fuller has been one of the most caring and supportive mentors I have had the privilege to come across. Unlike most, Dr. Fuller's door is always open, and he often drops by the graduate student offices to chat either about academics, politics, opportunities, or how we're doing. And in terms of how a graduate student is doing, that's a theme that keeps coming up time and again, that Ed goes above and beyond to get to know the students, to see how they're doing, but of course also keeping in mind their professional development. The student went on to say, what I enjoy most about Dr. Fuller, however, and indeed what I needed most as a graduate student during that tumultuous first semester, was a mentor willing to be vulnerable. As someone whom at times has struggled to imagine living up to the grueling standards of the professoriate, Dr. Fuller has been willing to open up and demonstrate how being the student, once he's a doctor, is not only possible but probable. Other students went on to say how Ed's been fantastic in helping with various class projects, with evaluation and things like that. that Ed has generally shared his time with doctoral students at the conference, and he always has a kind word of encouragement. On my way here from the airport, I had a phone call with another of Ed's students who wanted me to share with you that she said that she would not be making it through her leadership studies and continue on to a doctorate without Ed's help, that he goes above and beyond and has connected her with resources across campus and just demonstrates a true ethic of care. So please help me congratulate Ed on winning this prestigious award, the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award.
Obviously, it means more to me than I can say. It's really an honor and privilege for many reasons. One is because the person who the award is named after is in the audience, who I had the honor and privilege of being one of his graduate students, along with Michelle and many of you in the audience. And I was really fortunate because he set a fantastic example of what a professor can be in terms of mentoring graduate students. Jay, along with Pedro Reyes and Lonnie Wagstaff, just exemplified what mentoring was all about. And so when I finally became a professor after 17 years after getting my PhD, I was on the slow track to the professorship. I just assumed, well, that's what you do, you know, Jay taught us, that's what you do when you become a professor. So I just walked into it and opened my door and said, come on in, what do you need? He also made it really clear to us that professors have a moral and ethical responsibility to mentor students. That's part of our job. That's expected of us. You should always do that. And I learned that from Jay, so thank you very much, Jay. I've really tried to live up to that expectation that Jay set for us. I'd also like to thank Team Fuller over here at this table. So Sunny and Saki, Christina, Kristen, Hilario, Erica, Nina, Stephen, another Stephen I think is here, Kat, Ashley, and Emily, and anybody I missed. It's hard to remember all the people that came. I'd also like to thank Jerry Latondra, who is our department chair, who will be leaving the department chair position soon. But he wisely told me not to let the tenure process dehumanize you. And so I took that to heart, and I like to spend time with my students. And finally, I'd like to thank my kids, Jake, who's 19, and Jade, who's 13, and Zane, who's 2. And I wish they could be here. And especially my incredibly beautiful and talented wife, Marie, who's home taking care of the kids. And without her, none of this would be possible. And finally, I'd like to thank Michelle, who I went through grad school with, and the UCEA EC, and everybody in the audience and everybody in UCEA. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I like that, Ed. You just get your own award. He was really excited about that award. As am I, Ed. The Jack A. Culbertson Award was established in 1982 in honor of UCEA's first full-time executive director, who retired in 1981 after 22 years in the position. Jack was himself an impressive scholar throughout his career. However, he took particular interest in the scholarly endeavors of junior faculty, recognizing in their work the future of the profession. The award is presented annually to an outstanding junior professor of educational administration in recognition of his or her significant contributions to the field of educational leadership. The Jack A. Culbertson Award is presented by Casey Cobb, University of Connecticut.
Good afternoon once again. I'm Casey Cobb from UConn, and it's my distinct pleasure to present the UCEA Jack Culbertson Award for Outstanding Junior Faculty Member to my colleague, Morgan Donaldson. I'd like to also acknowledge another UConn colleague, Richard Gonzalez, who formally nominated Morgan for this prestigious award. Now, for those of you that know me, you know that I like to joke, or at least put a little lightness into the talk, and keep things fun, keep things light. So from my perspective, Morgan is like the worst person to have to talk about for this. And because she's given me no material. She's smart, she's a great colleague, she's annoyingly perfect. It's really makes it tough. So first of all, her research is of the highest quality and focuses on some of the most salient topics of our time. As a scholar, she is driven by the simple but fundamental question, how do educators become better at what they do? Her work has looked at this question primarily within the context of educator evaluation and human capital development at both the school and district levels. One of her recent projects is a study of New Haven, Connecticut's teacher evaluation system. New Haven Public Schools is a district serving about 21,000 students in 45 schools, and has really attracted national attention for its pioneering teacher eval system. Well, 2 years ago, 8 organizations, including leading research firms like Mathematica and AIR, approached New Haven with proposals to study the program because it was so novel and progressive. Of the 8 proposals, New Haven selected Morgan's for the insightfulness of her research plan. Her study seeks to understand how including test scores in teacher evaluation affects teachers and administrators' behaviors, practices, attitudes, and motivation. So this past year, Morgan was awarded a highly competitive Spencer Foundation National Academy of Education postdoc fellowship to continue this research in New Haven. Again, it's very competitive. Only 20 scholars are awarded this fellowship annually, and we're very proud that Morgan was recognized. She is also principal investigator of an evaluation of Connecticut's pilot educator evaluation program. And she was sought out specifically by the State Department of Ed because of her expertise in educator evaluation and human capital development. Morgan's work is being heard by policymakers, practitioners, and other scholars. She publishes in some of those competitive peer-reviewed journals in the field, including American Educational Research Journal, Teachers College Record, Educational Evaluation and Policy Analysis, and of course, EAQ, Ranked Journal Impact Factor 1.2. That's right. She has disseminated her work in some of the most widely circulated journals to practitioners as well, so it includes Kaplan and Educational Leadership. One of her educational leadership articles was awarded the best article of the year for that journal. Finally, her work has appeared in several major media outlets, including the Huffington Post, New York Times, Washington Post, the Boston Globe, Dallas Morning News, Harper's Magazine, and Commonwealth Magazine. Of course, there are other roles of a faculty member beyond research and writing. Morgan excels in these areas as well. I'm in a good position to evaluate her work because I'm a department head, and she happens to be up for tenure this year. So don't tell anybody, but I think she's going to get it. Just between you and me. Her teaching is great. and it's probably born from her experiences in the Boston Public Schools as a high school humanities teacher. And she also taught at the Harvard Graduate School of Education while pursuing her doctorate there. She really knows how to reach her students. She is equally comfortable in a room full of practitioners, aspiring principals, and advanced PhD students. She's a fantastic advisor. Her dedication to the profession, like her associate editor responsibilities with EAQ, is beyond reproach. I can attest to the thoroughness and timeliness with which she takes on this role. She's a true professional, dedicated to her craft and to her field. So there you have it, a nearly perfect record and no roasting material. Of course, I only have myself to blame. We knew when we hired Morgan that she was going to be fabulous and go on to great things. So while I may be frustrated that I don't have any funny stories to tell, I do have the satisfaction of knowing that UConn was right about Morgan and that she's indeed one of the best junior faculty members in the country. Please join me in congratulating Morgan for the UCEA Jack Culbertson Award for Outstanding Junior Faculty Member.
Thanks, Casey. I threatened to vet his speech beforehand because I know he's a little unpredictable, but it worked out okay. I want to thank the UCEA Selection Committee. It's a great honor to receive this award. It's just so humbling to look through that list of prior winners and see so many people whose work I have on my syllabi. So I really, it's a very humbling and touching gesture to be nominated by Richard and to receive this award. I also want to extend my thanks to UCEA as an organization as a whole. I attend a lot of conferences, just asked my kids and my husband. And I think UCEA is unique in terms of its, the opportunity that it provides people to really have deep conversations that connect research and practice. I go to other conferences and I see deep conversations about what I would consider very marginal things. But I feel like at UCEA, we're talking about things that really could impact children's experiences tomorrow. And we're talking about them in a way that really could move the field forward. So I really am touched in that sense. And also, I really value UCEA's commitment to serving all students, and to especially improving school conditions for kids who are traditionally underserved. So those things make this, this award particularly meaningful for me. I also want to thank my UConn colleagues. I want to thank Richard Gonzalez, who nominated me. I did not think about this award until he walked into my office and sat down and said, I'm going to nominate you for this. And so I really do thank you, Richard, for taking that step. I want to thank Casey for all the support and encouragement that he's given me through his years as a fellow faculty member and also department head. I feel really blessed to work at a place where the expectations for tenure are clear, the support is consistent, and the humor, as you saw, is ever present. Lastly, I want to thank all of my partners, first at UConn, secondly at home, my husband and my 2 children, and then also the students that I taught in the Boston Public Schools and the Framingham, Massachusetts Public Schools. These people motivate me to do my very best work and have a lot of fun in doing it. So thanks to all of you. This is a great honor, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
See, it worked better, Casey, when you went the right way. As I passed by, he said, "You're never going to let me forget this, are you?" I'm like, it's all right. Our next award is the Paula Silver Case Award. The Paula Silver Case Award was instituted in UCEA in 1999 to memorialize the life and work of Paula Silver, a UCEA Associate Director and President-elect who made significant contributions to our program through excellence in scholarship, advocacy of women, and an inspired understanding of praxis. A Sterling Silver Bowl is presented annually to the author of the most outstanding case published during the last volume of the UCEA Journal of Cases in Educational Leadership. Suzanne Eckes from Indiana University will present the award.
Thank you. I'm really honored to have served on this award committee for the second year in a row. I know many of us use the Journal of Cases in Educational Leadership in our Ed Leadership courses, and I'm thrilled that Carol Karpinski wrote this wonderful case that I know several colleagues use in their courses. And before I tell you a little bit about this case, I just wanted to mention the other faculty members and a Clark Scholar who were on this award committee with me. Richard Fossey, who was the editor of JSEL, and Laura Trujillo-Jenks, who was the associate editor with me up until this last August. So Carol is unfortunately not able to join us today, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about her case and encourage all of you to read it. Carol walks us through a case involving an assistant principal who asks what has changed in her school over the past few years in this new era of accountability and evaluation, and how does she address a lot of the concerns that her teaching staff has been struggling with in the school and classroom. She questions the media's coverage of many of these issues, movements against teacher education and teacher education programs, attacks on teachers' unions, specific criticisms on college education teacher prep programs, and severe economic downturns created by various issues in that particular community. So I encourage you to check out her case in the JSEL database, and I want to congratulate her for her excellent work on this case. And I just thought of one thing. There was a Clark Scholar on this committee as well, and Colleen Chestnut. I also wanted to mention her name. Thank you.
The next award is the Roald F. Campbell Lifetime Achievement Award. The Lifetime Achievement Award was instituted by UCEA in 1992 for the purpose of recognizing senior professors in the field of educational administration whose professional lives have been characterized by extraordinary commitment, excellence, leadership, productivity, generosity, and service. At the same time, the award celebrates a remarkable pioneering life of Roald Campbell, whose distinguished career spanned many years and exemplified these characteristics. The award consists of a unique bronze eagle presented at the UCA convention. Ellen Goldring from Vanderbilt University will present the award.
Good afternoon. It is my honor, and in fact, I am humbled to present to you Professor Robert Krausen, this year's recipient of the Campbell Lifetime Achievement Award. I am so thrilled to present Bob because he has such a huge impact on me personally and has had a career that will influence the profession for decades to come. In my brief remarks, and believe me, it was very hard for me to be brief, given dozens of letters of nomination and support that were received from colleagues and former students. In these remarks, I want to emphasize three themes: Bob the professor, Bob the mentor, and Bob the person. Bob the professor. Bob is a professor's professor. He is a scholar and intellectual. He has an uncanny quest for new theorizing. What is truly unique about Bob is his insight. As one colleague wrote, and I quote, "Bob is the master of otherwise, because regardless of the theory or interpretation, Bob can flip it on its head in a millisecond. Bob stands out for his ability to plain outthink everybody else. The depth of his understanding is nothing short of humbling," end quote. And those of you who know Bob know this really, really epitomizes who he is. I am not going to make the usual remarks about how prolific Bob is, how many hundreds of articles and book chapters he has written, and how many seminal works he has penned in the area of his scholarship, broadly defined as the politics of educational administration and governance. What I am going to say is that Bob's work has always been forward-thinking and provides deep analysis and meaning. His work embraces context. His work is connected to the real and the practical, and his work embraces the messiness of organizations and politics, and his work is profound. Think of school-linked family services. Think of new institutionalism. Think of community in schools. Think of administrative uncertainty and organizational theory. All of those themes are themes that Bob Crowson has written about. All these central issues of administration and reform are so enveloped in politics and are better understood because of Bob's work. In fact, if anyone could bring theorizing to life, it is Bob. As one letter writer noted, he is one of a handful of people who has worked tirelessly to connect disciplinary perspectives to educational administration, end quote. He has always acted as a bridge between the perspectives of administration leadership and organizations and politics. We owe a great deal to Bob for maintaining the integrity of the middle ground that unites the fields of political science, policy, and administration and leadership. And that was a quote from one of the letters. Bob exemplifies an unparalleled thirst and enthusiasm for knowledge and intellectual discourse. I'm not done. You have to keep standing. Bob, the mentor. Bob was one of my first mentors as a student at the University of Chicago, and he was a welcome friend and supporter to all of us doctoral students at that time at the university. And he smiled too. And boy, did we need some people who would smile. But most importantly, he was an early advocate of creating a profession that is broad and diverse. He opened doors for so many students and junior faculty. His generosity and collaborative spirit is unusual in the academy. He critiques other works and makes it better, never indicating that he doesn't have time. He opens doors to opportunities, whether it's brokering relationships, co-authoring, or providing access to networks. He is humble. As one colleague noted, he never takes the limelight or credit for this work. It is simply what a professor, or at least Bob, does. Another colleague noted, day to day he demonstrated support in ways that might not have been evident to others, but were meaningful to me. As many of you know, Bob has served on numerous committees and panels and had leadership roles throughout his distinguished career. What is unique about Bob is the extent to which he serves others without seeking recognition. He is truly a citizen of the profession and the institution where he works. He regularly seeks out young scholars and then promotes their work. Bob's clear vision of a more diverse profession has spawned decades, and many students wrote on his behalf and thanked him for being such a strong mentor. One student noted, "Bob knew and appreciated how my particular lens as an emerging African American scholar was different from conventional ways of looking at the schooling of African American children in urban schools and the principals who lead those institutions." Long after I finished my PhD at Peabody, Dr. Crowson continued to provide me meticulous feedback on scholarly manuscripts and offer career advice. In many ways, my accomplishments today have their origins from classes and conversations with Dr. Krausen. And Bob the person. I want to start with a story. Bob's house was nearly destroyed with all his belongings during the massive Nashville flood of 210. He had to stand on the top of his car and wait for a boat to carry him and his wife to safety. The department rallied to his side, and our problem was that there were too many volunteers, staff, students, and faculty, all clamoring to support Bob and his family, and all because of a deep, deep special regard for Bob. Now, I would like to think that my department is so caring for everybody, but I do think the bond is especially strong for Bob. He listens, he cares, he acts on behalf of others. He has shown so many of us what it means to be professorial from a relational point of view. To a person, those who wrote on behalf of Bob spoke about his spirit of giving, colleagueship, and generosity. One former student summed it up by saying, "I am distinctly marked by his excellence, perseverance, fortitude, and often the overlooked leadership trait of compassion." And she continues, quote, "He uses a humanist lens through which to see mankind. He believes in the transformation of the ordinary to becoming extraordinary. Through his lens, a, quote, bad risk can be transformed to a, quote, risky possibility." I think those are very powerful words. In closing, I hope these brief remarks portrays both my deep admiration for Bob and the gratitude that we as a profession owe Robert Krausen. He has touched so many of us as we progressed in our careers as professions of educational administration, and he has helped so many practitioners as they embarked into the complex world of school organization. Bob's long career of distinguishing service and scholarship is a model. He always gave to others, and I am very happy that through this award we are saying thank you to him.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm deeply honored and humbled. I want to tell you to start with, by the way, the whole lunch I was trying to remember at my age whether I come up stage left or stage right. Fortunately, I was able to follow Ellen and did it correctly. Let me just tell you what kind of colleagues I've managed to work with over my career by giving you an example of the colleague who just made this presentation. Ellen Goldring left Abu Dhabi at 1 o'clock Wednesday morning, flew to Dulles, caught a plane immediately on her way to Indianapolis, arrived in Indianapolis at 11 o'clock this morning to be able to give this presentation. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Ellen. This award brings back two deep memories. One is that I knew Roel Campbell. He was the chairman of the department when I was studying at the University of Chicago, and indeed much of the suggestion to turn every idea on its head came from Roel. But one of the most terrifying experiences of being a doctoral candidate at the University of Chicago also comes from Roel. It was his practice to invite into his office, one-on-one, every doctoral student who was at the dissertation proposal defense stage. And you hadn't defended yet, but you were going to present it to Roel. And very gentlemanly, but in a frightening way, he would put you through your paces, and particularly he was interested in the conceptual framework that you were using for your study. I was engaged in a policy implementation study, and I really had no conceptual framework, but I made one up, and new federalism. But but Roel was just amazing, and it was an honor to meet him. Another colleague at the University of Chicago, a member of my dissertation committee, was Dan Lordy, who is still, although retired, is still working and doing well in Chicago. And in fact, Mark Smiley is doing some work with Dan Lordy right now. Dan's practice, he was on my committee, and his practice was AERA session to put together a symposium with papers being presented by his current students. And then he invited one of his former students to be the discussant and critic. And as a critic, it was as a critic that I was able to meet for the first time Ellen Goldring and Gary Crow and Kent Peterson and Mary Driscoll. And they have now become lifelong friends and colleagues. So once again, the University of Chicago, in its heyday, was just a wonderful place. A second powerful memory. As probably most of you know, I did a lot of work over the years with Bill Boyd. He and I were very close, and I miss him. We all miss him. He's just was a powerful figure in our lives. Turns out that his wife Emily and my wife Janet, who's here, are both professional violinists, and they had that in common. And then Bill and I had some interests in common. So quite often, about August of the year, we would go up to Interlochen, Michigan, where Bill spent every summer administering the summer youth music camp. And we would join Bill and Emily. Bill and I would work on some discussion of projects for the next year, and Emily and Jan would talk and do things together. And every night we would go to the evening concert that was always in the outdoor pavilion, and by mid-August the wind would sweep off the lake and the temperatures would often be down in the 20s, and you'd freeze to death, but you wouldn't miss it, because occasionally you'd hear people like Itzhak Perlman come and perform with the youth orchestra, because Itzhak's daughter was a summer student. And so the experience of Interlochen in the summer, along with the chance for Bill and I to work together, just translated into a relationship that in an occasion like this comes very much to mind. I had the experience of serving in two institutions over a 2-decade period. University of Illinois at Chicago, where there were some absolutely wonderful colleagues, and I noticed that a couple of them, probably at a time when I should have, Mark Smiley and Vicki Sho, with whom I happened to win the what is the most power? What award did we just? The article award. What is that? See what happens when you get old. At any rate, Mark and Vicki were participants in the Davis Award, and they were just wonderful colleagues. And the University of Illinois Chicago is still doing just a wonderful piece of work with the consortium that's underway in Chicago. And then having an opportunity to work with some colleagues now at Vanderbilt has just been fantastic, and it's been a 40-year career over those two institutions. Let me take some time, just a little bit of time, if you will, and tell you what's on my mind currently, and tell you what's on my mind currently by way of a bit of a story. My student evaluations quite often are very honest and find all kinds of faults, and as they should. But invariably, I'm often told that they like my stories, even when they hear them more than once over the course of a semester. So I'm going to go into a story now, something that's very much on my mind, because just a week ago, last weekend, there was a meeting of the History of Education Association in Nashville. And one of the sessions at that association was a discussion of a new book just out by Kate Ruse-Manier from Miami of Ohio. And she did a history of the principalship. It's a good book, well worth reading. And in that history of the principalship, she has all kinds of delightful vignettes, stories of hero principals, people who have really done a great job over the years, over time, in doing something good for schools and their leadership. She also has a fascinating chapter, a disturbing chapter in many ways, about what happened with desegregation to African American principals. Many of them lost their jobs. And what was lost in the process was a style of principling that is just now beginning to come back. Two of Ellen's former students, Jerome Morris and Carter Savage, Jerome Morris is at Georgia and Carter Savage is at Morehouse, have talked recently about community bonding principling. Indeed, I think we need to keep that in mind and go back to that style and think more about just how we engage in it. Turns out that I happen to have some opportunity to engage in some ethnographic studies of Chicago principles at one time. And our study opened just at the time when Chicago was in the throes. First, Chicago had been ordered to desegregate its de facto segregated schools, and that didn't happen. And Gary Orfield's dissertation, in a delightful way, points out exactly why that didn't happen politically. But Chicago did agree to desegregate its administrators and its school principals particularly, about the time that we were just about to start our ethnographic study. So I had an opportunity to follow for 2 years a principal, and a black principal by the name of Felder, Henry Felder, who entered for the first time in its history a K-6 school near the Midway Airport, which was heavily white ethnic, and had never had a principal of his color before anywhere near the school. They protested, they marched, they gave him all kinds of difficulty. He had to enter the school with with a police escort for a number of days as he started his career at the school near Midway Airport. And I watched him for 2 years as he took over that school. He started by spending before school times, every lunch hour, as much time in the evening, in the afternoon as he could, tutoring kids who had fallen behind in reading and math, and doing everything he could to kind of help kids who needed help. Beyond that, over the course of the 2-year period, anytime any child in the school was hospitalized or ill, or if any member of their family was hospitalized in the area, Felder visited that family and visited that kid and went and checked up on the child or on the family. Many of the families in that community were extended families, and often a grandparent would pass away, and sometimes a parent of one of the children in the school. And Felder went to the funerals of every family, of every child that had lost a loved one in the community. It was quite a scouting community. He gave talks at the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I noticed that by the middle of the second semester of the first year, he knew the name of every child in that school and would call them out by name as he walked around the halls. A remarkable person. Shortly after I finished my study, the school board recognized, or the school administration recognized how good he was, and decided to promote him to a high school principalship in the northwest part of the city. And the community protested once again, this time against his removal from the school. Community bonding principling, we need more of it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Monica's decided she's tired of walking across the stage, and so she's asked us to just go on without her. UCEA is very, very pleased to have the opportunity to present a brand new award this year. As many of you know, UCEA has had a concerted effort around trying to understand the research base underlying effective leadership preparation programs, and we've sought multiple opportunities to highlight those programs that are doing effective work, that are making a real huge impact on the field. And we were in conversation with one of our partner organizations, the Wallace Foundation, who agreed that it was high time that we establish a award recognizing the excellent work that's happening within programs in universities. So this year we're announcing the inaugural Exemplary Educational Leadership Preparation Program Award. And the submissions were outstanding. They were outstanding and they were enormous because the list of criteria and things that we wanted to know about these programs was pretty extensive. And a couple of our award committee selection folks, they did a little complaining. Well, one person in particular did a little complaining, but I think he meant well. And they did a marvelous job. And when they sent in their comments to us, they said, this was a very difficult choice to make. And in the end, we want to award this to 2 institutions, unranked, to recognize both of them. The award primarily is the things that they looked at most. I'm losing my train of thought here, sorry. It's been a long day. The 2 things that they looked at the most were whether or not the program reflected current research on the features, content, and experiences associated with effective leadership preparation. And then secondly, whether or not they've demonstrated evidence of effectiveness. So they're also looking for preparation programs that were evaluating themselves and gathering data and using that for program improvement. And I'm happy to announce that the award is going this year to the University of Texas, San Antonio, and the University of Illinois, Chicago. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about some of the comments that the selection committee shared with us in making this award. They said that our decision to select these 2 programs was largely influenced by factors such as evidence of a high-functioning and actively engaged district partnership, rigorous and thorough recruitment and selection processes, strong coherence among mission, learning objectives, curriculum, student learning assessment, and program improvement informed by assessment and outcome, evidence of effective support structures such as close student cohorts, mentors and coaches, and community support, faculty capacity that's consistent with the UCEA guidelines, authentic and intense immersion in field experiences, and then finally, strong outcome evidence of program effectiveness, including program implementation sufficiently long to adequately assess program outcomes of effectiveness. I know that both of these programs have multiple faculty who are here with them, and we would like to invite each of you in turn to stand up and then also have your representatives come up and receive the award. And we would like to begin with the University of Illinois, Chicago. So if maybe you first of all could show us who all is here from your institution, and then your award recipients come on up. And with the support of the Wallace Foundation, we were able to provide each one of these institutions with this lovely plaque and a cash award.
I'm setting my alarm. As program coordinator, I'm delighted to accept this award on behalf of everybody. I'm Steve Tozer, and thank you, Michelle, and thank you to the committee that put so much time into this. I mean, our strategy was to send so much material in that you couldn't possibly read it all, and maybe overlook some of our flaws. So thanks to UCEA, because we regard this not just as a sort of recognition of a lot of work we've been putting in over the last dozen years, but also it seems to us this is a really strategic initiative to lead change in our field overall by examining promising models that are producing results in schools, that are having an impact on student learning, that are having a significant impact on who graduates, how many kids graduate from high school, how many go to college successfully, and so on. And we and UTSA together would like to talk about this a lot. So tomorrow there's a session at session 119 where we're hoping a lot of you will come and we can really talk about what are we doing in our models that seems to be working, but we'll also talk about what's not working so well and what we need to do a lot better. I'll come back to that in just a moment. What you saw when our team stood up is a team of academic faculty, researchers, community organizers, and 5 full-time retired public school principals who have been with us for a minimum of 5 years, all of whom transformed their schools, low-income, high minority population schools, into schools of excellence in Chicago in their careers. And I want to just give a special shout out to these 5 principals who, in fact, are absolutely instrumental in making our program achieve what it achieves by working with academic faculty in the way that they do. So thanks to those principals who have worked with us now for between 5 and 9 years. The program has produced some pretty extraordinary results in the first 10 years. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of the things that we're not doing as well as we need to be doing, but this includes a 99% placement rate in administrative positions for the last decade. 70% of those people have become principals. Right now, nearly 10% of all Chicago public school principals are led by our people, over 15% of the high schools, and they have extraordinary results in terms of student learning. And I want to say that it's impossible to produce those kinds of results, in our view, by doing business as usual with university education leadership departments that are structured the same as philosophy departments are structured. That is to say, we've got to find new ways of structuring ourselves, new ways of rewarding faculty, new ways of organizing our work collaboratively if we're going to produce real results in schools. And I'm hoping that UCEA continues to take the leadership in moving forward on that. To that end, I'd like to say that we find particularly valuable UCEA's program assessment approach, its program assessment rubric. We just got $1 million from the U.S. Office of Education to improve our program further, and one of the key instruments that we'll be using is the UCEA program assessment approach, because no matter how good we think we are, if we compare ourselves, if we take seriously the UCEA program assessment instrument, boy, oh boy, there are just so many areas in which we have to get a lot better. And I'm really grateful to UCEA. We as a team are grateful to UCEA for providing that kind of an instrument that really, again, if taken seriously, really points us toward the places that we need to do our work much better than we're currently doing. I'll conclude by saying that I'm really looking forward to working, we as a team are looking forward to working with more institutions represented here who really want to start to form partnerships to break the mold. And really, we cannot do higher ed academic departments in the business as usual way and produce the kind of results in public schools that need to be produced. I'm going to say it a little bit differently. In order to produce different results in public schools, particularly in low-income schools, we're going to have to produce principals who are change agents. I don't think we can produce principals who are change agents without becoming change agents within our institutions and changing how our institutions staff, structure, and reward our programs. We have been very fortunate to have the support of our chancellor, to have the support of our university president, and the chairman of our board of trustees in the last 10 years. And there's no doubt that makes a big difference. We've been very fortunate in having the continuous support for 12 years of external philanthropic foundations who are really supporting our work. We're grateful to them. We continue to learn about how we can get better because of that support. We're looking forward to an exchange of ideas with those of you who want to kind of keep pushing this envelope forward. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
And now we'd like to have the representatives from the University of Texas San Antonio stand up so we can see who all is here, and then have your representative come forward.
I'm holding the check in this hand, and Sean has the plaque. I first of all would like to thank UCEA, the selection committee in particular, for considering our application, and to UCEA, the organization, for creating spaces over the years that I've been involved with it, opening spaces, supportive spaces, where people's good work can be recognized. Really appreciate the organization very much and all the support you've given us. About 11 years ago, just 1 year after I got to the University of Texas at San Antonio, then Superintendent of San Antonio Independent Schools, Ruben Olivares, and then Dean Blandina Cardenas, called me together with Peggy Stark from SAISD, and they talked about the idea of having this collaborative, this partnership between UTSA and SAISD for the purpose of building capacity. So Peggy and I became the worker bees, and from the very beginning, the partnership was focused on issues of interest and concern to the district. And it was characterized by a focus on social justice and teamwork, so that we taught courses with people from the district from the very beginning. And we have never sought external funding, but I think it's a good example of a program that can exist and thrive in the absence of such funding. We have survived and done very well through 3 superintendencies and now 10 years. And although I started this, the program in its current form is entirely due to Encarnacion, Encarnacion Garza. So come on over here.
Thank you. I'm very proud to say that this is the first funding that we get. That's a very, very important part of our program, that no matter what, in terms of funding, this program is sustainable in and of itself. The support from the district, and we have representation from the district here today. Tony Thompson, representing SAISD, is here with us today. The partnership could not be possible without the support that the school district has provided. Really, this honor belongs to the students. Give me a second here. I came 11 years ago, fresh out of the superintendency, and this is what I fell into. It's been very, very rewarding. We are currently in cohort 6 with 21 students. We have graduated 76 students. Out of the 76, I believe there's 7 sitting principals, and there's 20 assistant principals, and I think there's about 8 or 9 in directorship positions, and the younger ones, the later ones, are still in the classroom waiting to be promoted. We're so glad that Tony is here because she is the Human Resources Director. So the names are always turned into her. So that's the kind of partnership we have. We are also very fortunate that we have a student that just graduated from cohort 5 here in the audience, Cindy. And Cindy just got promoted to assistant principal. She just graduated and she's already an assistant principal. She got accepted into our doctoral program. She turned in a paper proposal and her paper got accepted, and so she's going to present here today. So we support our students even beyond. They graduate, but they never finish with us. So they're always with us. We're so proud of our program. Thank you very much, UCEA, for this wonderful opportunity and award. It was an intensive application process, and I'm still waiting for my early submission award. Thank you.
As Steve Tozer mentioned, we're highlighting both of these programs in session 119, which is titled, "We Do Know What Effective Leadership Preparation Looks Like," so come see it. Also, we learned from the editors of the Journal of Research on Leadership Education that they're going to be doing a special issue that's highlighting the work of these two effective preparation programs, and that's going to be edited by 3 of the award committee, which consisted of Diana Pounder, Martha McCarthy, Steve Jacobson, and Michelle Acker-Hosevar. And I'll leave it up to you to figure out who it was that was doing the complaining. Thank you.
I think there'd be a pool for figuring out that, putting in bets, okay. And Michelle made me come up here one more time. I want to take a second to thank again all the recipients of our awards today and their service to our field, our institutions, our students, and the future. So thank you. In light of Michelle's last comments, I want to give a special thanks to all the award committee reviewers and all the hard work they put into selecting these awardees for today. Your service is extremely important to our field, so thank you. Thanks to everyone who made this luncheon possible. Thanks to everyone and to all of you for attending today and engaging in this community building opportunity that we have. And lastly, I wish everyone a provocative, challenging, edifying convention experience. And we look forward to hearing more from all of you on Twitter, #UCEA 2013. It's my mantra because, past president Cindy Reed, said that she wanted to see us trending. So let's make it happen. Have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy your convention.